And now Travis Smith has an editorial for us.
I've noticed on campus more than a few people supporting the Republican candidate for president, Ron Paul. There are some understandable reasons that people do support him: smaller government, anti-Iraq war, and major spending cutbacks. But underneath all this, which many do not know, are a few beliefs of his that make him his own particular brand of crazy. I could talk about the gold standard that he is pushing for, but there are more insane things that he has said and supported. For one thing, Ron Paul has connections to many racist groups and has said racist things himself. He's the candidate of choice by Stormfront.org, a white supremacy website, and has accepted money from them and their members. While I suppose his acceptance of the money could be brushed away as a necessary evil, just looking at some of his statements he has made earlier tend to make his racism more visible. He said in a 1992 newsletter that, and I quote, "If you have ever been robbed by a black teenage male, you know how unbelievably fleet-footed they can be," and later added, "I think we can safely assume that 95% of all black males in that city, D.C., are semi-criminal or entirely criminal." He later said, "Opinion polls consistently show that only about 5% of blacks have sensible political opinions, i.e. support the free market, individual liberty, and the end of welfare and affirmative action." Now, racism may seem crazy enough, but his insanity goes so much deeper. At a Q&A session on August 30th, 2003, he said, and I quote, he asked if there was an international conspiracy to overthrow our government. The answer is yes. Even just recently, during the Republican YouTube debates, Paul discussed his belief that there are plans for a North American Union and a superhighway between Mexico and Canada. He also thinks that the United Nations is going to make moves to threaten our national sovereignty. Ron Paul is also a recurring guest on Alex Jones' show. Alex Jones is a 9/11 conspiracy theorist and believes many other bizarre conspiracies on top of that. Paul has listed a few of his own crazy theories in a 1993 direct mail letter discussing the Clintons. One such theory is that Hillary is a lesbian communist and that Bill has multiple illegitimate children. He also said in his March 15, 1994 Ron Paul Survivor Report that Vince Foster was a former lover of Hillary, which goes against his lesbian theory, and that Foster was Bill's connection for some alleged cocaine addiction, which was why the Clintons allegedly murdered him. As I stated earlier, I could have gone into his various stances on destroying the FDA, Department of Education, employing mercenaries, basically almost any of his stances, but I wanted to use his legitimately crazy statements to perhaps dissuade some of you Paul supporters who don't know much about him. Hopefully, I may have gotten through to some people, but tragically for others, there is no hope in getting through to them.
Thanks, Travis. Do you want to get involved in Year to Date? If you want to join our team, please email us at yeartodateshow@gmail.com. And that's our show for tonight. We'd like to thank our guests, Nate Troiano, William Zeman, Christina Bartol, and Justin Mushnick. And Travis Smith. We'd also like to thank our crew, Molly Swade, Laura Gibson, Christina Bartol, Sarah Geminer, Josh Rothman, and Rachel, whose name I don't know the last name of. So, Jason, you look a little laid back, a little underdressed tonight. What's up?
Well, here's the logic behind my lack of a tie. We went down to South Carolina this weekend to kind of participate in the results of the election down there. And, well, I'm dressed like a South Carolinian. The also less intellectual reasoning is that I'm just back from break and don't want to wear a tie.
I think he's just lazy.
Whichever one you choose. Well, that's all the time we have for this week.
Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 9:30 for another episode of Year to Date right here on ATV.
Good night and thanks for watching.
Have a good one.
I have an iPhone. It's pretty cool. Before, the only way I could hear hours of uninterrupted music on my phone was if I called tech support. I was eating Wheaties, and on the back of the Wheaties box, they had health tips. I kind of think people eating Wheaties are already on the right track, you know? I think they should be putting health tips on stuff like Cookie Crisp. Health tips from Cookie Crisp. Tip number 1, stop eating Cookie Crisp.